Good evening and welcome to Halftime on the Hudson. Alongside John Rohr, I'm your host Corey Grip. Let's start tonight's show with some hot takes.
The University of Tennessee's coaching search has now entered its 4th week, and oddly enough, the Volunteers have seemingly no volunteers to become the team's next head football coach. Last week, disgruntled fans and boosters blocked the hiring of Ohio State defensive coordinator Greg Schiano, citing his alleged and unproven involvement in the Jerry Sandusky scandal at Penn State. Both Penn State and Ohio State were quick to defend Schiano after Tennessee backed out of the deal. Since these allegations were made public, Schiano has been head coach of both Rutgers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Athletic director John Currie was shown the door after what school officials have called acts of insubordination. The alleged atrocity was Currie's attempt to hire Washington State coach Mike Leach. The job has been turned down by numerous coaches, including John Gruden, Kevin Sumlin, Mike Gundy, and David Cutcliffe. With former Vols coach Phil Fulmer now in charge of the coaching search, the program is being held hostage by boosters, including Cleveland Browns owner Jimmy Haslam, who wouldn't know what winning looked like if it slapped him in the face. The situation in Knoxville can only be described by the team's passionate fan base as a hot mess.
He would never say it, but head coach Ben McAdoo and general manager Jerry Reese getting fired this past Monday could be one of the most satisfying moments of Eli Manning's career. Manning was benched by McAdoo this week leading up to a matchup with the Oakland Raiders, which the Giants lost 24-17. This disrespect occurred to a legend despite leading the Giants to two Super Bowl victories over the New England Patriots, winning 2 Super Bowl MVPs, being one of only 8 quarterbacks to throw for over 50,000 yards in his career, and throwing for over 330 touchdowns. He definitely deserved better. The firing of Ben McAdoo and Jerry Reese has capped off a very eventful season for the G-Men. After starting the season as potential Super Bowl contenders, everything has fallen apart. The Giants suspended cornerbacks Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie and Janoris Jenkins for violating team rules, which really annoyed the locker room. They lost star receivers Odell Beckham Jr. and Brandon Marshall to season-ending injuries. The defense has had many breakdowns this year, and the offensive line has continued their struggle from last year. It wasn't captured better than owner John Mara saying, "I understand, especially after speaking with him, that being Eli. I completely understand, but that took me by surprise a bit, and maybe I would have handled that a little differently. It's only fitting that Eli returns to play quarterback again this Sunday against the rival Dallas Cowboys at home, where I'm sure there will be much fanfare from fans and former Giants in the stands." Despite drafting future star players Odell Beckham Jr. and safety Landon Collins, general manager Jerry Reese has not had consistently good draft classes. Eli would never admit it, but he is raising his middle finger high and proud as the real losers of New York leave town.
Father of the Year candidate LeVar Ball was back in the news Monday when he made the executive decision to pull his middle son, LeAngelo, out of school at UCLA. This came in response to Jello's indefinite suspension after Ball and a pair of teammates were caught shoplifting in China last month. The plan now is to prepare Jello for next June's NBA draft, where many experts believed he doesn't have a chance of being drafted. The Ball family's relationship with UCLA may also have come to an abrupt end, with youngest son LaMelo's eligibility already in question thanks to his new line of signature shoes. And while LeVar is busy arguing with President Trump about how to say thank you on Twitter, eldest son Lonzo is averaging less than 9 points a game and is being dubbed by many to be a flop. With LaMelo not even playing high school basketball, Lonzo's unconventional jumper not falling, and LeAngelo likely to end up in the Lithuanian League, it's time for LeVar to step aside and let the big ballers ball.
The ACC and the Big Ten are very good conferences that produce teams that are highly competitive come March. It is only fitting that they have a challenge to determine who the best conference is. The ACC, however, has dominated in this series, winning 11 out of 13 matchups. This tournament typically puts teams of similar ranking or talent against each other to make the games fair. Although the Big Ten is known as a basketball powerhouse, the ACC actually won every game this season. Some were close, but most were double-digit victories. Players such as freshman Marvin Bagley III of Duke against Indiana, junior Luke May of North Carolina against Michigan, sophomore Kyle Guy of Virginia against Wisconsin, and sophomore Dwayne Hale of Miami against Minnesota led their teams to big victories over the Big Ten elite. This could show once again that the ACC is the best and deepest conference in all of college basketball. Everyone in the ACC knew coming into this season that Duke would be a threat because of their star freshman class and the return of Grayson Allen, not to mention North Carolina being the defending national champions led by last year's Final Four's most outstanding player in guard Joel Berry. It also does not hurt to have coaches such as Coach K, Jim Boeheim, Roy Williams, Mike Bray, and Tony Bennett, whom many consider some of the elite coaches in college basketball, to be coaching the ACC. The season has really only just started as most teams have not fully entered conference play yet. But if this challenge tells me anything, it is that the ACC is looking to dominate once again come March, and no one will want to face that onslaught.
That's the latest happenings around sports. When we come back, Corey and I will dive into college football playoffs and what fans can expect from the upcoming bowl games.
This past Sunday, the College Football Selection Committee released their final rankings of the season. Last year's champion Clemson remained number 1, followed by number 2 Oklahoma, number 3 Georgia, and number 4 Alabama. Heading into the postseason, the coaches have a lot of strategy to play around with, so we came up with a game plan for each team to follow.
Corey, it's year 4 of the playoff. Did the committee get it right this time?
They absolutely got it wrong. Listen, Alabama, they're a great team, but I felt like this is a reputation pick. I really feel like Alabama is not one of the best 4 teams in the country. If they were one of the best 4 teams, they would have at least played for their conference championship game. They didn't even play for their conference championship game, so I don't see how they can, play for the college football playoff. Ohio State, I will say, had a bad loss to Iowa, but
points, yep.
Iowa is a tough place to play. And especially after a really emotional home win over Penn State at home, then they had to go on the road and play a tough Iowa team. I would like to see Alabama do that.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama's best win against LSU, who had 3 losses, and then the next best win, Mississippi State. They were tested against Auburn, and they quite honestly looked terrible.
Yeah, they didn't look like the number 1 team against Auburn. I will say Auburn really exposed Alabama. But like I said, this is for me is just a money move. Alabama's going to make college football a lot of money, and I feel like that's why they were put in. But Ohio State had wins over Michigan State, Penn State, a top 5 Wisconsin team. I mean, how can you not put Ohio State in the playoff?
Yeah, okay. So we have this conversation every year. We clearly agree they didn't get it right. Should they expand? I
really don't think they should expand because I think if you expand, you're just going to have more controversy and more debate. And I mean, obviously, this is sports television. Who doesn't want debate, right? But I really think that expanding is just going to cause more problems, more arguments, and then there's going to be talk for more expansion. I really don't think it's going to happen. But what they should do is they should really clear up the language. I've been hearing this from a bunch of sports commentators the last week. They need to clear up the language and what they think is more important. It's all about who's the most deserving or who's the best. They really have to clear that up and what is the most important criteria for the teams to get in. And I feel like with that, we'll have less controversy going forward.
All right, first matchup. Clemson, Alabama, rematch of the last 2 years, national championship games. Who you got on that one?
I'm going to take Clemson. Listen, Jalen Hurts, he's just not played well against good teams this year. Clemson, they're on a mission. Their defensive line is just so good. They just shut down everybody they've played. Kelly Bryant, he's not Deshaun Watson. I think we all know that, but he's done enough to help his team win this year. I think Clemson's going to really lean on their defense. I think Jalen Hurts is going to struggle again. I like Clemson to win. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think Clemson's going to pull it out.
Yeah, I agree. I think Kelly Bryant's going to be really, really strong in this game. He's really going to show what he has. I won't doubt Nick Saban in the playoffs, but I think Clemson's got this one.
Yeah.
Now moving on, Georgia and Oklahoma. Heisman frontrunner Baker Mayfield. Can he do it on the biggest stage of them all?
Look, listen, let's just stop saying finalist for the Heisman. He's going to win the Heisman. I just don't see how it can happen. Look, for me, this is about head over heart. My head says OU, but my heart says Georgia. I'm a huge Georgia fan. And I'm going to pick Georgia, and here's why. I really think that defensively, they're led by Roquan Smith. He's one of the best defensive players in the country. He's the best linebacker in the country. He won the Buckus Award. Their defense has 3 weeks to prepare for OU. I think if they can, find a defensive game plan to slow down Baker Mayfield, you're not going to stop him. He's going to light up the scoreboard. But if they can slow him down, they have a chance. Baker Mayfield is really good out of the pocket. He's really good at making plays on the run, using his feet to extend plays. And they're going to have to keep him in the pocket, make him throw down the field. He's really good in and out of the pocket. But if they can contain him a little bit more and get some pressure, they'll have a chance in this game. They really do need to make Oklahoma's offense one-dimensional. If they can take the run game away, they got a chance. I think the running game of Georgia if it's effective, they'll have a chance to win. Jake Fromm, make some nice plays.
I'm actually going to disagree with you here. I'm going to take Oklahoma.
It's the popular
There's question
pick.
marks surrounding Rodney Anderson with sexual assault allegations breaking yesterday. But I think Oklahoma is just going to be too strong, and we'll see how that plays out. Now, national championship game. Who you got?
Well, let's see. I think whoever wins the Georgia-Oklahoma game is going to win the national championship, so I'm going to take Georgia. I really think that the Georgia-Clemson game matches up really well for Georgia. I think Clemson probably will be the best defensive team they've played all year, but I think Kirby Smart has been in so many of these big games before. I think he'll have his team ready to play against Oklahoma and then potentially Clemson. I think Georgia's balanced running game will just take over the game and wear out Clemson. I think Georgia's defense will shut down Kelly Bryant for the most part, and I think Georgia will win a very close, low-scoring national championship game.
I'm going to take Oklahoma to take it all this year. They won on the road to Columbus, got an impressive win against Ohio State. They've beaten a tough TCU team twice, and I think this is the Baker Mayfield show. This is the year.
Let me just say that I think any one of these 4 teams can win. They all have their strengths and weaknesses, so it's going to be interesting to see how this college football playoff plays out.
Yep. We look forward to seeing it New Year's Day. We will see how our predictions hold up in the coming weeks. After the break, Roman Caffini will have a special report about the NBA and which players are hot so far this season.
Welcome to this week's Sport Report for Halftime on the Hudson. I'm Roman Caffini, and today I'm going to give my top 5 predictions as to who will be this year's NBA MVP come April. Let's kick it off with the number 5 spot. Our candidate to start off the number 5 spot is none other than 2-time MVP and 2-time NBA champion Steph Curry. Though Curry has been banged up this year, sitting out a number of games with a hand and ankle injury, he has been nothing short of incredible to start the season. He's averaging 26 points, 6 assists, and 5 rebounds, leading the Warriors to second in the West at 19-6, 8-2 in their last 10 games. If Curry gets healthy, it's a safe bet that the Warriors will end up topping the West come April, as well as defending their title come June. At 4 is Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis has started to maximize his potential that Milwaukee saw when they drafted him back in 2013. It's hard to argue that any other player has made a bigger jump this year. He's up 7 points a game while taking 5 more shots and has been shooting 2 percentage points higher. The Bucks stand at 12-10, 6th in the East, and have had impressive wins this year over the Spurs and the underdog Pistons. Kyrie Irving comes in at the number 3 spot. After leading the Celtics to the top of the East and the best record in the NBA, and Gordon Hayward went down in the first 5 minutes of the regular season, Kyrie has stepped up as the undisputed leader of this Celtics team, and he's proven that he can lead a team on his own. For the season, he's averaging 23 points, 5 assists, and 3 rebounds. These numbers don't indicate exactly how much of an impact he's had on the team, although. Irving has been nothing short of spectacular in the clutch this season, shooting 62% in the final 5 minutes of the game. At second, where he continues to rise through the MVP ranks, is the king himself, LeBron James. He's led the Cavs to a 12-game win streak, averaging 28 points, 8 assists, and 8 rebounds. The Cavs started the season out slow at 5-7, but have moved their way up to second in the East at 17-7. With Isaiah Thomas's timetable for return yet to be determined, Derrick Rose stepping away from basketball, and Tristan Thompson out till February, James has impressed once again by carrying a tremendous workload for this Cavalier team. Coming in at number 1 is none other than my personal prediction before the season, James Harden, who has led the Rockets to a 17-4 record, 9-1 in their last 10 games to lead the West. Harden has been putting up outstanding 31 points per game, 10 assists, and 5 rebounds. Even with the addition of Chris Paul, it seems that Harden is still the primary playmaker in Houston and is undoubtedly the leader of this team. Those are my top 5 picks for MVP for this season. Thanks for tuning in. Let's send it back to the studio to Corey and John.
Thanks, Roman. Before we end tonight's show, we leave you with the top 2 must-watch games of the week. There's nothing more gratifying than to watch a college football game where the athletes are playing for something bigger than themselves. It is also a joy to see 2 coaches in Navy's Ken Niumatalolo and Army's Jeff Monken, who could be coaches at Power 5 FBS programs, but they pass up these opportunities to stay at these service academies. But this is what you get when you watch Army and Navy play for their Commander-in-Chief's trophy, where most of these players will not play in the NFL and will serve and protect their country after their college football careers. I'm leaning towards Army in this game because they've won 6 of their last 7, and Navy has lost 5 close games this year, with their biggest loss being of 10 points. This shows Navy is having a tough time winning close games this year, not to mention that quarterback Zach Abey often makes mistakes by turning over the football, with 7 interceptions this season. I'm riding with the hot team here, and despite my dad serving over 29 years in the Navy, I can't go against my gut on this one.
Yeah, so Army won for the first time in 14 years last year, right?
Yeah.
Does Navy start another, or does Army start their own streak, or is Navy going to come back for what they're?
Yeah, like I said, I think Army's going to win this game. I think because both teams run the same offense, it's really, they can practice against the triple option, so in theory it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think Army's defense has been better this year, so I think Navy is going to have a tough time moving the ball. Army's passing game has struggled. But I think they'll make some big plays in this game alongside their strong running game.
The Major League Soccer season will come to a thrilling conclusion Saturday night as Toronto FC and the Seattle Sounders will square off in a rematch of last season's MLS Cup final. 12 months ago, the Sounders prevailed in a penalty shootout thanks to a brilliant performance by Swiss goalkeeper Stefan Frei. This year's edition of the game features the league's 2 best regular season teams, and high-powered offenses will be sure to provide plenty of fireworks. With Seattle's star forward Jordan Morris still trying to regain match fitness after a hamstring injury sidelined him for nearly 3 months, look for Josie Altidore and Italian magician Sebastian Giovinco to deliver the Six its first major sports championship since 1993. That's all we have tonight for this episode of Halftime on the Hudson. Catch us next year, same time, same place. Until then, alongside Corey Grip, I'm John Rohr. Good night.